Well, those
Yeah, I don't
breasts are
know.
so sort of swollen looking. They also look like they want to be like, you know, mother's breasts to feed children, whatever that's
Yeah,
called.
yeah, and they're a little bit like soft and
Yeah,
are you comfortable in the zone, Tim? You want to talk more
suckling,
about
nursing. I don't
breasts?
know. Yeah.
This is Gina Beavers.
And this is Timothy Hull.
Welcome to Unstretched.
Unstretched. That's where we
Yes,
are.
so I said it very normally because we had a musical intro, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to make things normal and trying to let the music be the kind of,
The lead
wild
in.
entertainment. Yeah. Do you hear like a white kind of snow sound?
No, there's no snow here. It's late June and it's warm.
Okay.
You're having
Sorry.
phantom
I don't
sound
know what that
vision?
was. Maybe there was a truck going. No, you don't hear that, but like white noise.
No. Last night outside my apartment, someone was playing cymbals at like two
Oh
in the
my
morning,
God.
like slam, 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 slamming cymbals together
Uh,
outside. And I woke up and I thought it was
uh,
like a thunderstorm, but then I was like,
oh
no,
my
it
God.
can't be a kid. So I'm like, college dude or whatever, like found some cymbals and just thought, you gotta love New York. That's
New York, I love you. Oh my God.
But
So
I'm excited
good.
about our musical intro by Bartolini, who is a
Yes.
very good friend of mine. He's a Italian musician from Rome. He's like the prince of the Rome indie scene, and that song is his from his sort of debut album BRT Volume One from 2019, and that was actually how I first learned his music. And that song, it's called Like, that was what captured my imagination of his music because it reminded me of like a Johnny Marr guitar riff from the Smiths. Johnny Marr is
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
guitarist
yeah.
for the Smiths. And and Bartolini just has a really beautiful touch on the guitar that sort of reminds me of Johnny Marr. So he graciously allowed us to use part of his song "Like" as our intro music. So I'm really excited
Yeah, it's so
for it.
awesome. So go if you have like Spotify or wherever you listen to music, go find the song and
Bartolini. Yeah.
support him. Yeah, Bartolini. So cool. Yeah, I love it. Sorry.
No, I'm totally
Um,
excited about it.
no,
So
I'm really
anyway, yes,
excited.
like
Yeah.
I mean, we just
What?
saw each other last night.
Speaking of music, we almost had a raucous night at a piano bar, but then they
Um,
said 2 drink minimum, and it was like late enough in the night that we were like, nope. And
Yeah, I had already
yeah,
drank too much, but I
yeah.
also was like, I'm not going to spend $40 on just two drinks at 11 o'clock at night or 10
No,
o'clock at night.
no. Just to sing, what were you gonna sing?
I was again trying to think of like what my karaoke standard song should be, and
Yeah,
I was panicking. And one of the reasons I actually secretly was like, let's leave, is because I
yeah,
couldn't think of what I wanted to sing. And all I could think of is November Rain by Guns N' Roses, but it is a patently terrible
yeah.
karaoke
It's a
song.
hard one.
Don't do it. Don't sing it. But
Yeah,
that's like for some reason, like either that or like
yeah,
Don't Cry by Guns N' Roses. I do
yeah,
not know
yeah.
why Guns N' Roses is like what I want to do with karaoke. It doesn't make any sense to me either. But so I was like, I gotta get out of here.
No, totally. I was thinking as we were walking over there, piano bar, I'm like, this is going to be some serious. We're not that far from like Broadway. So why don't I bring out my old standard musical audition song, but Fontaine from Les Mis, on my own. on, do you know that song?
No,
It's
but
like
could
the
you that?
possibly the most oversung audition song like in the history of the world, sung by Anne Hathaway, or unless it was a voiceover in the movie, but the one that goes like on my own, pretending he's beside me. That one. Your
No,
face is
I
like,
know
I want to kill myself.
I know nothing of Les Miserables.
Yeah, anyway. I was like, could I pull that? Yeah, that would have been terrible.
Do you remember
Um,
the TV show Different Strokes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was an episode where Arnold is depressed and he wants to make himself feel better. So he's like, I'll go read a book. And he pulls a book off the bookshelf and he looks at the title and he's like, Less Miserables. Oh, that's going to make me feel even worse. And I remember thinking that was so funny. Like, it's so stupid, but I remember thinking it was so funny. I was like, 8 years old or something. And so I've always called Les Miserables less
Yeah.
miserable.
Yeah, yeah, less miserables. Well, it has that like unfortunate like the BLE is kind of like Les Miserables. Like you
Yeah,
barely say it like in
right.
French. I know just enough French to be as douchey as possible with pronunciation. Like I was
Right, to know that
talking
you actually don't pronounce most of the word.
right. But like I don't know enough to actually have a conversation in French. I was talking to the trainer at like my kickboxing gym and he was saying, "What is that croissant? I love it that has chocolate inside." And I was like, "Oh, pain au chocolat." And I was like, I sound like such a douchebag right now. Like I cannot not say it
We've had this
correctly.
conversation
I
before,
know, I'm sorry.
and I need to reiterate that I'm okay with speaking with the appropriate accent, though,
Yeah.
if you have a running knowledge of the language. I think
Of
it's
the
totally.
language, even if you have boxing gloves on and you're like sweating and you go pain au chocolat, like it's just stupid.
But you can also make a joke of it and be like, pain chocolat, and sort of act
Right,
like,
right.
you're
Overdo it,
American.
overdo it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
overdo it
yeah,
because
for
everyone gets a
sure.
good laugh.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So we
so we
didn't
were
go to
out.
Candy Bar, but we did
Yeah,
go out to get a hamburger from a gas station.
yeah. How was that? How was the
That was really
hamburger?
good. I can't remember the
Yeah,
name of that place, but it's on 14th Street and 8th Avenue, and it's actually a
yeah,
mobile station
yeah.
that it's like a working gas station, and it looks and feels like a dirty working gas station. But there's a really good hamburger joint in the gas station, and it's like a smash burger. It's just like, greasy, but it's really good. Like caramelized onion, American cheese,
Mm,
very just how you want it, and really cheap. It was like $6 for a pretty filling hamburger.
it's awesome.
I
Le
know Gina
hamburg.
departed at that point because she's like, I'm gluten free and I've got my peanut butter and jelly sandwich and I'm going home. And that's why I left
Yeah,
you.
I was just like, yeah, it was. Oh man, the World Cup is screwing up the train and everything. I was just like, this is gonna be a long night getting home. But also, yeah, I was like, I'm sad now because even sitting next to someone who's eating a burger, I'm like, "Eh." But what I appreciate also about that place is they have a big outdoor area that's very casual. Like you could almost just sit there. They had like a
You
World
just sit
Cup
there
game
and be
on.
weird.
People just came up and sat down. Like they weren't policing the outdoor tables at all, which is like, when have you ever seen that in New York? Ever?
Never. Yeah. It
That
doesn't feel
was
like New
really,
York. It feels like Cincinnati or like it feels like another city to
yeah.
me. It doesn't feel like
Doesn't
New
feel
York.
like,
It
well,
just
that's what
feels
I
right
said.
there on 14th Street.
Yeah, I was like, can you believe we're like 3 blocks from the Whitney right now? Like it's so
Like
when we were
the
in
apogee of high culture.
when we were in the actual gas station, I was like, wait a minute, we're like blocks from the Whitney. This is
When you
crazy.
said that and you clutched your pearls at the same time. You're like,
Yeah.
and we're only 3 blocks from the Whitney Museum.
Oh
There's
my
people from
God.
the New Yorker magazine. My God, what would they think?
No, it was just very trippy. You feel like you could be on like at a rest stop in the middle of the country for like a split second, you know? It doesn't even
Well,
feel
we
like a
were out
deli. It doesn't
because
have
we
deli
were at
energy.
we were at Boski Gallery celebrating their paper trail show, which Gina has two beautiful works of art in. And we announced it
Thank
hoping that some
you.
fans would come if we have any fans.
Yes.
But clearly, I don't think we have that many fans who come out to stuff because
I saw,
Abby and
well,
Chris came out.
Abby and Chris came, and also I thought I saw Esteban, but I think I saw him at the other show at the Next Haven show.
Kane
So
came, which
that's
was great.
three. Kane came four.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hardcore.
So to the rest of
No, it
you, get
was
your act together. When we say show up, you show up.
yeah,
We'll
because
get a shout out.
but also maybe they're just like unstretched like we are. Like they're just like, you
Totally. I
know
mean,
what?
really, who cares?
I'm like,
You know what?
really, who cares? I know. It's tough. There's a lot going on. It's also summer. Like people are, doing their own thing. The listenership trails off a little bit in the summer. I've heard from other podcasters and yeah. So
Well, that's why maybe in the summer we could think about maybe doing it every 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, we just did that. We'll think about it. We just did that. Um, but yeah, so that was really fun. And what else? What else were we were
Well, there's the Next
yeah,
Haven show, which was in
Next
the
Haven.
other gallery
Yeah.
posting. That was really cool because that
Hmm.
is a very interesting residency program in New Haven started by Titus Kafour. And they have like a cohort. This is the seventh cohort, I think, of
Yeah, it's so cool.
artists. And they're doing really cool work. And it's different levels of people in their career from very emerging to more established. So
Hmm.
it's worth checking out, seeing like what they had done.
Yeah, it was so strong. The work was really great. And is it a year or half a year? What is the residency? Is it? Yeah, it's a long one though. And actually one of the artists I was talking to was saying that they were relocating to New Haven after the residency. So that's
Well,
kind of
I
interesting to
feel like
think
some
about.
artists have done that. Like I've heard
Yeah.
artists are like, "Oh, this is a great place to work. It's cheap. I can live
Yeah.
here." So I
And
think it's been really
close to the
good.
city.
Yeah, it's been really
Yeah.
good for New Haven. So I
Yeah.
definitely encourage people to apply to it if you want to
Yes.
try out
Yes.
like living and working in a different place. They give you a huge studio. I don't know what
Hmm.
they, maybe there's like a stipend that I don't know.
I'm not sure. Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But it was fun to be out in
Well,
Chelsea. There was a lot of people at different
yeah,
shows.
it was a fun night. It was
Yeah.
definitely, yeah. And I had just gone right before I finally saw the Lisa Yuskavage show, right on my
Lisa
way
Yuskavage.
to did I say it wrong again?
Actually,
Yuskavage?
what do you say? Yuskavage. I mean,
Did I
I don't
say
know.
Yuskavage?
I feel like
Yuskavage.
conventionally
Yuskavage.
I say Yuskavage, but maybe Yuskavage. I mean, that sounds
Well,
maybe
it
more.
sounds like, well, who was the guy from the guy Kelly? Oh, his wife went missing. Scientologist. Never mind. Just
And was it hard to
Muscavige?
pronounce?
I don't
A
know. Anyway,
Muscovich?
that's what it's. Maybe I'm pronouncing it like the guy whose wife went missing from Scientology. If anybody knows what I'm talking
I
about.
don't know.
Okay. But yeah, I saw the show finally, and yes, I told you I did come around one corner, and there was a man standing there who looked deep into my eyes. Like I've never had that experience at a
Like he was like
gallery.
leering at you?
Well, he was just like, hello, like deep into the eyes, like
Right.
like that, which I've just never had. That doesn't, because usually you sort of respectfully avoid, you might sort of smile at someone like, hello, let's move around these paintings, but you don't like, I don't know, it was a little intense, but I love the show and I could have stayed like much longer, just like, so good. Really so good. I don't know. There were so many. I really appreciated how like the works on paper and the studies completely fed into the larger works. Like there's like continuity there. They're actually like working studies. They're not just sort of done because the guy like any kind of cynicism. I felt like it burned away any kind of cynicism I might have um, going into
Well,
like a
because
big show like
because I
that.
feel like for me, I burned away cynicism because it didn't feel so focused on like the big boobs and the big hips. It felt like
Huh?
that was there, but it was more
Mm-hmm.
about like the artist studio space and the system of
Mm-hmm.
production and the
Mm-hmm.
way things were painted, and it felt like it was digging a much deeper well
Mm-hmm.
than usual,
Mm-hmm.
but still had this sort of political, sexual implications of the work in general.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I felt like I didn't even, I mean, I barely noticed that aspect of it
Yeah.
in a way. It was almost invisible, or it was like, it wasn't sexual in any way. It wasn't like, it didn't feel really horny. I mean, the horniest piece I think is like that pink piece with the peacock and the sunset or the sunrise with the smoking girl like by the window, but like even without the figure, that piece is so lush and so like holy shit, like let's
Well,
go, let's have
it is
sex. No,
a master class in painting. Like
yeah,
I would
yeah,
send anyone to go there if you
yeah,
want to just look at good painting. Like
yeah,
fuck the subject matter. Like, like it's to me subject matter, great, it's fine in that work, and it does something and it's powerful. But what really hooked me was the way she's just handling paint in different registers. There's areas that are very abstracted, areas that are very tight and sort of, high contrast and sharp, and, areas where she's just like, I'm going to show you how great of a fucking painter I am. And
Yeah,
you're
she's
gonna,
a fine. I mean, but the funny thing was, I almost felt like the paint handling completely disappeared to me. Like to me, it was
really, I was
so,
obsessed with that.
well, it was so strong and so confident that
Yeah.
what I liked about it was like, I feel like I've said this to you before, we're like in an arms race right now in painting, like where it's all about,
Yes.
look how finely that was painted. Look how carefully that was painted. Look how you can compare it with some painting shows that have been in that exact space where you're just like, wow, how did they do that? That kind of like technical virtuosity or something. Like there's
Yes.
this arms race around that. And I completely was able to not even like focus. I could just look at the painting and be like, this is exactly how it had to be painted. It's gorgeous, all of that. But I'm not so focused on the paint handling. Like, I don't know. I had almost the
So you
opposite
see that like
reaction.
she's like the American atomic bomb. Like she's got it. Like everyone's trying to get the bomb, but like she arrived and
She's the
she's like,
bomb.
nope, I got it. Like
I
I'm the
got the
bomb.
bomb. I'm the
Yeah.
bomb. Yeah, because it's not about that. I really don't think the painting is about what a virtuoso, like what a
No, it's
great
not. It
painter
looks so
is.
effortless. That's what I love about it. It looks like
Exactly.
she woke up
Exactly.
and did it like in two
She
seconds.
did it, and you just inhale it. You're just like, this is, I feel like the more conscious parts are the compositions and the color palette where she's pulling in certain wild colors. And those are the ones where it feels more like sort of self-conscious choices, and you're reading them like the way that the compositions are like tilting, all of the like canvases are tilting against each other in certain directions, and it's playing in this like old master work kind of space, like this depth and the studio space, like all of that was so brilliant to me too, like the way that they're set up, and then how they reference different paintings that are on the wall in the studio. Like
I
the
love that.
space
Yeah.
becomes like her mind almost. It's like an interior.
Well, and
Yeah.
I love it when artists reference the studio because we spend so much time in the studio. That is where we are
Yeah.
all the time. That's what we're doing
Yeah.
all the time. And so in the one hand, it's sort of like a well-worn pastiche for the artist.
Is
It goes
it?
back to
Is it?
Velasquez, Las Meninas
Okay,
is
so
the
that's
ultimate,
kind of
like,
who she might be referencing a little bit, or
well,
yeah.
sure, but Rembrandt's done it. I mean,
Right, Rembrandt. That's who I was
there's a
thinking.
lot
Yeah.
of it's definitely in the history of painting. There's a lot of like,
Yes.
oh, this is
Yes.
me in the studio. Even Norman Rockwell
Yeah.
did like a bunch
Yeah.
of like, this is me in
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
studio. So it
Yeah.
has it's sort of a well-worn trope, but why? Who cares? Like, because that's the
No,
reality of being an artist is you're in the
and a
studio.
female, and this is when it's filled with these like naked women and her, and this all the femininity of it is so different, like
Yeah,
just like turning that page into this other territory. I was thinking too about like Emily May Smith's paintings where she's focusing on the
right.
studio or like
Totally.
invoking the studio. And then I was thinking about like Bruce Nauman and his marching around the studio, and like I know that there have been shows there. Yeah, there have been shows about like artists who make work about the studio. But it
But it
also
was
felt like more,
definitely, yeah.
yeah. Oh no, just like more at times more of a psychological space than an actual literal, it's a literal than it is a literal space, even though it's both probably. Um,
Well, speaking of psychological space, though, like I
yeah.
felt though created a psychological space in the gallery,
Mm-hmm.
and like I was saying,
Yeah.
there were like sort of single older men who were kind of like leering
Mm-hmm.
around, but also there were
Yeah.
like young sexy people who were
Yeah.
like young art students who were wearing
Yeah.
slinky summer clothes, and like I don't know,
Yeah.
the whole milieu of the show to me was kind of sexy. Like there was
Mm-hmm.
definitely like, I felt
Mm-hmm.
like everyone was kind of making eyes at each other in some,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
definitely.
Yeah.
Which made
Well,
me think like, what to you is like proper gallery etiquette when you're viewing with like other people? Do you like ever check out other people, or do you try to just focus on the art, or are you like both art and people looking? Do you ever interact with people? Do you ever like talk to a stranger?
Meh. I'm just looking at the art. I'm annoyed when there are other people there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what about, so do you,
Well, it depends. I mean, I used to kind of joke that with TM Davy and I used to go to MoMA or the Met, and we basically be like, "Yeah, we're going like art and boy watching,"
uh,
because we would like feel like we'd spend like half the time like looking at the guys as
yeah,
we're like looking at the work, because there's always just like beautiful art going
uh-huh.
men of all different stripes,
Oh,
and
I
not to
guess
see this like a cruising ground, but certainly when I
yeah,
was single, I used to go
yeah.
to the museum or galleries and fantasize that I was gonna
Mm-hmm,
like meet the man of my dreams, like while looking
mm-hmm.
at, Rousseau's Sleeping Gypsy painting, and that was gonna be our like,
I
story.
guess, yeah, it is, as the Gen Zs say, like sort of a green flag, right? If somebody is looking at art as like, that's a good like kind of territory to already like check that off the list of like, where I just don't know that it works with straight men the same way. Sorry to all of our straight guy
Well,
listeners, but
oh, no, this is here's something really interesting, and this might be controversial, I don't know.
okay. Oh
But
God.
when I was at the National Gallery last
Mm-hmm.
year, so I went to London, I got a grant through CUNY to go do
Mm-hmm.
some research at Oxford and in London of the antiquities there. And I spent an entire day in the antiquities section in the not the National Gallery. What's the British Museum?
Mm.
So I was in the British Museum all day, like 8 hours
Yeah.
in the antiquities with my sketchbook,
Mm-hmm.
sketching in the museum, and so many people came up to me. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
like you'd think I was doing like a performance or something, and here I am
Mm-hmm.
like minding my own business. I'm on like a grant, like I'm a scholar, like
Yeah.
I'm
Right. Right.
working. And people kept coming up to me constantly. Now, who do you think came up to me constantly? Only two types of people. Can you possibly guess who they are?
Um, older ladies.
Yes.
Yes. Um, and I don't know, younger ladies.
Yes. And younger. Yeah. Either very old or very young. And I said to Corey, Jesus Christmas. If I wanted to be like a pickup artist, if I wanted to get major action, if I was a straight man and I wanted
Mm-hmm.
major action, this is what
Mm-hmm.
I would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all the young women who came up to me were
Yeah.
beautiful. Like they were
Oh,
like
yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
young women. And I'm talking
Yeah.
like,
Mm-hmm.
22, 23
Mm-hmm.
years old.
Yeah.
And they were very brash about coming right up
Mm-hmm.
to me and being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what are you working on? Like
Yeah.
what are you doing?" Like and like chatting me up. Like they're
Yeah.
hitting on
Yeah.
me, like, you
Yeah.
know? And old women then who would come up and be like, "Oh, like, woo, I love your drawing. Like, are you an artist?" And here I am being constantly picked up by like younger women, older women. And I'm like, this is sort of the great irony is like, I wish it was young hot men, or like
Yes.
or older hot men, but like no,
Yeah.
men totally ignored me like completely.
Uh-huh.
Um, but dozens, I'm saying like throughout the day, like dozens, and I
Yeah.
just and I just was like, what is that about? Like
Yeah.
were they
Yeah.
trying to pick me up? Were they just curious? Were they just
Mm-hmm.
intrigued? I don't know,
Yeah.
but it was definitely a notable, like I noted it and I was like,
Yeah.
this is
This is,
weird, and I wish
yeah.
I was a lech and could take advantage of that.
Well, it's kind of like if you've ever worked like plein air in like a busy spot, and we can like put this out to listeners who've had experiences like this, but if you've ever worked outside, and like I used to do that in college or when I was a lot younger, and that's the situation where definitely dudes will come up. Like if you're a female, you're painting outside, you'll
Okay.
definitely have a bunch of, because this was something we kind of got into the comments. It started in a conversation about Lisa Yuskavage's paintings. And one of our listener, or at least one of our commenters, I say it wrong again. Oh my God.
Gosh, you said it like 3 different ways.
And now I'm never going to get it right because every time I'll be panicking and I'll pick the wrong one. But I don't know if she's a listener or if she's just a commenter, but Linda, I think her name is Linda in our comments, who was like, going to her shows always makes me feel a little bit awkward in the space or whatever. And then she was bringing up she brought up Jeffrey Epstein and all of he would go to the New York Academy of Art and pick up young female artists because he felt like it was a sign that they were like liberated. And we were kind of discussing how, straight men will sort of read a like a certain kind of wildness onto you as, but also love to see you making art. Like, right. That's even a thing in like E.M. Forster and like, what's that movie that I love with Florence?
Room with a View.
Room with a View. I mean, she plays piano and they're all like, oh my gosh, like you're so passionate when you're playing, Mr. Beebe is like, you were so passionate when you were playing piano. I don't know. It's like women making art. I don't know. It turns straight men on, but like the act of it, it's like,
I know it never worked for me with like gay men really. Like I never felt like there was some guy who was like attracted to me because I was an artist or because they thought my art was good. Like I feel like that. I don't know if that works in the gay world in that same kind of way. Not in my experience. I don't know.
Yeah. And it hasn't really worked for me in any, because that kind of attention that you're getting is not like necessarily the attention that you want. Like, I don't know,
Right.
or from the person that you want it from. I don't know.
And I feel like but that kind of like the rhetoric or this sort of like language of sex in that capacity is very much like oriented towards the art world that's like in the nude figure drawing world of like, I feel like if you want to meet like a creepy person, go to like a like a public nude drawing. And I only, I know that there's like very legitimate nude drawing groups. I'm not disparaging them, but I feel like there's a subsection of like nude drawing groups that's like, oh, we're going to show you a hot dude or like a gorgeous woman, and you're all going to be a little horned up because of it. And so afterwards, maybe you're going to like, hit on someone and like, go home with somebody.
Yeah. I know. That's kind of the subtext of it. Tim, you're
that's
frozen. What?
You were frozen too. You were frozen as well, and I just didn't say anything. I just wrote it out, and then you.
I'm trying to write it out, but I'm like, I need your face to be moving. I'm like, I'm sorry if I sound weird. I'm sorry if I blamed you for me. That's what my mom does. Like if we have bad reception on the phone, it's like she's yelling at me like it's my fault. Like I can't hear you. So I'm sorry if I'm.
I deal with that all the time. Yeah, it's like everyone thinks that it's always someone else's fault because we don't know whose fault bad connection is.
I know it's probably my fault.
My fault.
I don't know, but it's Trump's fault. Let's just
let's just blame Donald Trump for everything. It's fine.
Yeah, it's probably. I'm sure it's true. Okay, so so sexuality. No, sorry.
Well, that reminds me of like that. There's this article by Joey Lico called "The Center."
Wait, before we talk about that, I wanted to say one thing about the Lisa show, the Lisa Y show.
Lisa Yuskavage
was the incredible like nostalgia of her nude women of that tan line. Because I realized, and this is something that I realized probably a long time ago with her work, but for some reason, I think it really came home to me in this show because the women tended to be a little bit older. Like I noticed that a lot of the women had like these under eye circles, which I thought was right, which was such a pointed kind of moment in their life, like a little bit middle age, or a little, it was so cool. But like the first time I ever saw real boobs were my mom's boobs, and she had a tan line like that. Like the very 70s, like we're gonna tan, like, as tan as we can get, and we have these like, that sort of silhouette of the like triangle top. Anyway, so just like the nostalgia of of thinking, people are reading this as really sexual, but in some ways, like, there's a very tender kind of feeling there, like a maternal feeling. I don't know. I kept having very like maternal and like,
You know these fancy words for mothers doing mothering stuff.
I don't really either, but yeah, they're just kind of like, they're a little bit soft and saggy and a certain age. Yeah, and probably have breastfed and, but there's just something very tender about them. I don't know. I didn't read them as sexual.
Well,
But yeah, yeah.
the reason I wanted to bring up that Joey Lico piece in her Substack, The Center Will Hold, because she starts off this article saying that she was having like a conversation with a bunch of artists and curator, like art world people, and someone was like, "Oh, the art world right now is either pretty girl or smart girl. You're either the pretty girl or you're the smart girl." And I thought like, oh, this is going to be problematic. Like we're already giving like, sexualized gender stereotypes to your status in the art world. Um, but they were trying to say that either you're the pretty girl, meaning you're selling your work and everyone wants your work and you're invited to the party and people are like promoting your work and you're popular, or you're the smart girl and you're getting the reviews or you're in the fancy biennials, but you're not selling work and you're not invited to the fancy parties, like you're not wearing the cool outfit, and they were using that though as like a wide open metaphor for like two kind of tracks in the art world that have kind of maybe been bifurcating of like the market darling and then the sort of biennial circuit artist, because there's like the biennial circuit artist who's like, I might be really famous, but I make no money, a la, I don't want to say Josh Klein again because Sam Wilson told me I talk about Josh Klein too much.
But this article wouldn't have been written without that piece, right?
Well, exactly. No, it's totally
Yeah.
sort of referencing that. But what Joey Lico is saying in the piece, I think, really is that the ecosystem of the art world no longer agrees on what success means anymore. And so, because it's so bifurcated and it's so multivalent, and there's so many voices and there's so many little art worlds that people find all these different levels of success in these little microcosm art worlds, but it never adds up to really an overall kind of feeling of arrival. And so she was saying that like, maybe right now in the art world there is no arrival. Like there's no like, you've gotten to a certain level of some kind. But she says that maybe we need to start really being rigorous about what we think is good and talking about that. And I think that relates to the controversy of when I was saying like in a grad critique, like I want to interrogate an artist of like, well, why do you think your art matters? Like, why are you doing it? Like, why is it important? Why should I care? And I feel like in her piece, Joey Lico is saying, maybe we need to hold more artists to that kind of rigor, because otherwise we don't like, nobody knows what anything is anymore. No one has any kind of criteria to talk about anything. And I know that's problematic, and I understand all the sort of multivalent issues as to why we are where we are and why that in a way doesn't work. But I think maybe in one's own soul and one's own spirit to get kind of serious about what you're doing and to approach it from that way, but also to find different, to reestablish and reassess different benchmarks of what you think success could be, because all the old benchmarks of that are sort of blown out. And I don't know, I think that they're like, she said something interesting, which was there's a reluctance to make judgments in the art world. And that art the art world suffers from an overproduction of consensus, but an underproduction of conviction. And I thought that was
An
kind of an interesting,
over, say it
yeah,
again.
an overproduction of consensus, but an underproduction of conviction. And so I feel like that's sort of biting at that idea of like, art as a asset class, or art as like, oh, this is just biennial art, or art as, oh, this is just for the market. And that no one's really like, no, this is really good. I have conviction in this and I'm supporting it wholeheartedly in all realms. I don't know. That's sort of what I kind of read out of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you can have an overproduction of consensus, as um, in that sense, like museums, collectors, curators, they're all sort of lining up like this person is good, but then
Yeah, or they're often just picking the safe person because they've already been, anointed by the
YC is sort of
or-
already vetted.
yeah.
And so, yeah. Well, it's that thing like, didn't you say someone had said, I don't like go to a studio visit unless I've heard the artist name 3 times or something like that?
Interesting about the buzz, though. I've had this conversation with so many artists over the past because I know artists who show at big galleries and they're frustrated that like there's no like buzz around their name. And then there's artists who don't even show at galleries and there's buzz around their name and people think,
Yeah.
"Oh, if I show the big gallery, I'm going to be buzzy." But like there's all like but no one knows how buzz actually happens. It's a really organic kind of
I
weird
think buzz
mystical
only
thing.
happens when the artist creates the buzz. The
Yeah,
buzz
well,
can only
exactly. Right.
the
Yeah.
buzz can only be created by the artist. I don't even think galleries can create a buzz for an
I
artist.
don't think they can. Yeah.
I think if they're a big gallery and the artist has buzz, the artist has had a lot to do with that. Like I think kind of like galleries are where the buzz goes to die. I don't know. Although there is a certain kind of buzz. There is huge auction prices and massive sales and stuff like that. That's a buzz too, but that's a different kind of buzz, I think, maybe than what
Yeah.
you're
Well,
talking
that's what
about.
always annoyed me though about like an artist who would be buzzy and then a big gallery would swoop in and like pick them up and then they get boring.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It kind of just like has to come from the artist.
It
But
would be
yeah, back.
interesting to it will be interesting to be a really buzzy artist. Who's a really
Mhm,
buzzy artist who decided to stay with their smaller weird gallery?
mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to think like off the top of my head because like I know that well I know okay
Well,
there was a brief period of time I think where Jamie was like gonna go to like Andrea Rosen or something, and then she made a public announcement that she's like, no, I'm gonna stay with JTT because like I want to come up with her
right.
kind
Right.
of.
Well, and the only maybe Gagosian is a place that you could go with buzz and keep your buzz.
I don't
Like,
know artists. I've definitely heard of artists who've
yeah,
left Gagosian because they
yeah,
felt like when they got there they were
yeah,
like a little fish in a big pond and
yeah.
like totally, you
Right.
know,
And
gotten.
as I was saying that though, the reason that Jamian still has buzz and is at Gagosian is because of Jamian. Like she is
Yes,
buzz
exactly.
personified. Like
Yeah, right.
she is the
Gagosian isn't
hustle.
doing anything
She is
to
the
make her.
hustle personified. 100%,
Yeah.
100%. Um,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and
but
that's such an interesting point to make, though, in
yeah,
general, that like, don't, if you're an artist who wants buzz, like you
hmm
can't wait around and think that like a gallery's going to make it or someone's going to make it. Like, you have to make it and don't be an
right. You have to
asshole
make it.
about it. Like, don't be fake. But like, if you're really living your super authentic self and it's the
Yeah,
right thing at the right time, you're going to
right,
have buzz. That's it.
right. Well,
That's the magic.
there was a much bigger artist than me when I was showing like 10 years ago who was like telling my gallerist like I'm so jealous that Gina has, there's just she has this buzz, whatever. But this person was showing had like multiple big profile galleries and selling their work successfully, consistently for many years at expensive price points and big museum shows. And like it was just so funny to me that they were like, well, I'm just not a hot, or I think they said I'm not a hot artist. Like I want to be
Yeah.
in it, like, which was like I just thought at the time it just blew my mind. I was like, what? I don't get that at all. Like,
Well,
I don't.
Gina, I want to say for our listeners and also to you, because I don't know if I've ever told this to you, but when you were really buzzing out, like buzzing
Uh-huh.
up, I remember running into you, and it was like in the studio in Greenpoint,
Yeah.
and you were at the studio really early in the morning,
Uh,
and you were like, oh my God, like I was out at this like party until this time, and I was doing this, and I was out at that, and blah blah blah. And I remember thinking, wow, Gina is like the hardest working artist I know right now. No wonder she has all this buzz, because she's putting in the time and the effort, not just to get to the studio early to make the work, but then to also show up at all the events or parties or whatever that you're either invited to or that you hear about or you're going to. And I remember thinking that that's it. That's kind of like a lot of the formula is like
mhm.
working your ass off and like advocating for yourself and showing up,
Mhm.
and it might be exhausting, it might be feeling like you're kind of burning the candle at both ends, but that's like what happens.
Yeah. I think like early on or at some point, well, there were a couple things. One was Eddie Martinez had said to me, "Oh, I never see you out." Like we were in the same studio building in Bushwick or at one point, and he was on my hall and we would do studio visits and stuff like that. And he was like, "I just never see you around," like, and I was like, it was just like got into my brain like I need to go out more. And then I also remember hearing an interview with Michelle Grabner. Do you know Michelle Grabner? And she curated one of the Whitney biennials, or she was co-curating it. So there were a lot of interviews with her, and she had just said it has to be a balance between both. You have to balance your studio time with socializing, like 50-50, which is crazy because like I don't know that that's at all stages of your career or anything like that. But if you're trying to get somewhere, you just have to. At the same time, I mean, or at least that's what worked for me as I've been like out, like talking to students over the last like 10 or 15 years and kind of telling like, all the things that I did to try to make my career happen. I realized that some of those pathways of going out are not available to everyone, whether because I worked full time. So I was working full time, going out and making work, which was a little bit nuts, like almost lost my mind. But I think that it's not accessible for everyone. If you look at the downtown sort of gallery scene or the Brooklyn scene, are those scenes as diverse as the people who make art? I don't know that they are. And I think that maybe they're not as accessible. And that kind of way of kind of networking is not as accessible to everyone. Things like these.
Definitely, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely not. And there are these residency programs that have become really. I just went to the one at World Trade Center. It's called Silver Studios. My friend Deborah had a really nice open studio. Actually, Deborah's a listener. Deborah Cartwright. Um, Hi, Deborah. She had a wonderful Juneteenth kind of celebratory open studio. And there are just a lot of programs like residency, like Next Haven, like all of these different programs to encourage artists to like have that access to curators, have that access to other artists in a way that like is outside that like going out and drinking and networking and the downtown scene. It's just it's a different way to do it, but I think it's like a necessary component. So even though that's sort of how I went out and did all of that, I don't know that it's the only way. And I think for some artists it's just not
Well,
it's
it's
not
a way,
yeah.
and it
It's
and
a
it and
way.
but I think it's a
Yeah.
way to if you like if you want,
Yeah.
that kind of social buzz or people talking about
Mhm.
you and your work, like that is definitely
Mhm.
a way
Just go
to do it.
meet a ton of people cuz that's the other thing is like you cross paths with people and they think about you and they're like putting together a group show and they're like, "Oh wait, I just thought of you. I just saw you at this thing. Yeah, that's part of it." So, oh my God, you're frozen again. I'm sorry.
Ah, well, hopefully it's still recording even though I'm frozen.
Yeah.
But I also read a really interesting article in Hyperallergic by Barbara Pollock, who was writing a rebuttal to Mark Spiegler's op-ed in the New York Times about how galleries are in crisis. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, yeah, galleries are in crisis, Mark Spiegler, because of big mega fairs like Art Basel that really supported speculation and art as like an asset class and the sort of over corporatization of galleries and the art world and the art market. And I really liked how she actually quotes Sharon Butler, who calls artists indie lifers who are
Mm-hmm.
in the art world doing their thing. They're not corporatized. They're not like, having five assistants. They're not in every big mega show all around the world. They're just like, got their head down and they're quietly working and they're doing their stuff and they're showing up for the art world and they're showing up for their art. And I love that indie lifers. And I felt like that's what I want to be, indie
Mm-hmm.
lifers. I want to
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Sharon Butler for coming
Yeah,
up with
for
that
saying.
because I feel like that's sort of a nice vibe to ride
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
I
people are
mean,
sick of the corporatization of like the gallery world and the art world. Like, this idea that you always had to expand, you always had to get bigger, you always had to grow,
mm-hmm.
you always had to show off.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that there's a new energy, there's a different and new energy. And I think it's more of like the 90s global village kind of feeling of like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we're just doing it. We're just funky. We're just making work. Go listen to D Light. Go listen to D Light's World Click album if you want. If you want to
Yeah.
know what it should be.
Well, it's also like a lot of these things about the art world, are written by people who aren't artists. So it's like they talk about the art world, but they're not the same. They're not coming from the same perspective as we are. Um, they see things differently. Like the piece that Joey wrote. What was it? Oh, I had it here. Oh, damn, I lost it. But I thought it was interesting that the title was oh shit. The art
The
world
center.
doesn't the
Uh,
art world doesn't know what success looks like anymore. And
right.
I just kind of thought that's a little bit vague. Like I don't the art world is lots of different segments and I think one of the issues for artists is there an excess of ambition in a certain way? Like um there's tons of ambition and tons of competition and so it's like you're just going to end up feeling disappointed, because like where does that ambition lead eventually? Like when is it enough? That kind of energy,
Well, we got to get over the idea of like the art world having levels per se. Like, oh, I'm going to get to the next level, or oh, that show's going to take me to the next level because it's not like we're living in Super Mario Brothers. Like, it's not like being an artist is not actually like being in Super Mario Brothers. There's
Mm-hmm.
no
Yeah.
like princess at the end. There's no like going down a little hole and getting the
Yeah, yeah. Well,
like
and it's
you know
like that corporate, it's like a sort of corporate model of success, just more and
But
more
that's what
money,
we
more
were
and more
largely
fame.
taught, I felt, in grad
Yeah.
school, like 20
Yeah.
some years ago, because there was this. I feel like when I was in grad school 20 some years ago, that was the era of like go to grad school, get an MFA,
Mm-hmm.
show at a big gallery, make a lot of money. There were so
Mm-hmm.
many artists who did that. We could sit here and name hundreds of artists who like had a big career right out of their MFA. And I feel like there was this idea that like it is like Super Mario Brothers. Like you do sort of like have your first little show, you get a review in the New York Times, you're then in Greater New York, then you have a show at a bigger gallery, then you get like, a museum show somewhere that you sort of like move up this ladder in these levels and I feel like that did work and that existed for a lot of people. So there was that idea that that's the way that the art world worked. But I feel like we realize now that that isn't the way that the art world actually, like the
Yeah, I
career
don't,
actually works. So get
yeah,
over the level.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't, I mean, I went to school, I graduated with an MFA in 2000 and like, I didn't think that there was any like path. I don't know. I knew hardly anybody that was like making a living or, out of grad school or was like a huge success. Like I remember like there was an article about Dana Schutz around 2005 or so, and
Well, that was
somebody had
the era.
said, yeah, somebody had said the
You were
art
too
world
early.
picks a couple people to launch into the stratosphere, and they reach that status within like 5 years, right? And you either reach it in 5 years or it's going to take you 50 years. Like it's like, but I remember reading that, and I think it's only gotten worse over time. I don't think it's. I don't think my impression is not that it was like that 20 years ago and now it's. I think it's only gotten more like the demands or the levels have only gotten more like reinforced the need for all of these levels. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I have a totally different like perspective in terms of time or yeah.
I remember there was a New York Magazine article on the like top 5 breakout stars from Greater New York 2007, I think it was.
Hmm.
And I'd love to go back and see who they were and see if they're. I think Dana Schiff was one of them, and she's definitely
Yeah, she
still
probably
around.
was.
But
Yeah.
I can't remember who. Maybe it was like Banks Violet.
Mhm.
Maybe it was one of them.
Mhm. Well,
Maybe I can't
yeah.
remember.
I just
But
think
Banks Violet apparently is having a big comeback. I was
yeah.
hearing he had a show in Zurich and he had a show in Paris, and he's like, what goes around
Yeah.
comes around.
I mean, I don't think that like things are really that different. I think they're a little bit on steroids in terms of, but I don't think I this divide between the museum world and like critical attention and the commercial world, that's sort of that's been there at least for the last 25, 30 years. Like I remember going to a talk like 15, 20 years ago, and Jules de Valancourt saying, if you're a performer and you have a performance idea, you could probably, do it at MoMA. If you're a painter, your your work was probably never going to be like on the wall at MoMA. Like that's
Oh, yeah.
not, you know what I mean? So there was already like a very big bias again. Not biased. I mean, come on, like it's not a hardship necessarily, but there's like a divide between what the institution presents and what it supports and the commercial side of it. In fact, I was in conversation with different curators, and somebody was saying like when it comes to institutions commissioning work, they're not going to necessarily like they might want to include painting in a show, but they're not going to pay for you to produce your painting. They'll pay commission for a sculpture or whatever, something that has production costs because the museum feels once that painting is shown in the museum, you'll sell it. So they
Yeah.
don't need to like provide you with which so the museum is already kind of acknowledging that rift. At the same time, you know, museum boards will often have obviously collectors serve on museum boards, and they will often lobby for certain artists in their collections to have shows.
Yeah.
So it's not as cut and dried, like those
Well, that was something
overlapping.
that the mega galleries have been able to do is like lobby the institutions through financial means to get all their
Yes,
artists. I remember there was
exactly.
that big splashy article about how all the new museum shows were all like Gavin Brown artists and
Yeah.
like
Oh no, they were
I knew it was
all.
a list,
I
but it
thought
was
they
like
were. I thought it was all Hauser. It was like a season of all Hauser and Wirth.
this was a little earlier than that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
yes, there was a
Yeah.
whole time that was like all like
Like
Hauser artists, but
last
there was
year, like 2 years or a year or two
yeah,
ago.
this
Yeah.
was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago now,
Hmm.
and then the larger article was like, yeah, because all these museums they get money from the gallery to put on these shows, and so
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
they're like, oh, these bigger Hauser and Wirth can pay to, have their
Hmm.
art. It's like the ultimate pay to play.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. It's all very. Yeah. So I don't know that. Like in that case, those are highly marketable works that sell. Plus, they're having the museum show. So it's like that's a kind of you know that goes against
Well,
sort of what that article was saying. Yeah.
speaking of museum shows and also Greater New York, on Juneteenth,
Hmm.
I went to Greater New York at
Cool.
PS1
Yeah.
and I loved it. I
Oh,
was kind of
yay.
ready. I was ready
Yeah.
to be like, wah, wah, like Greater New
Yeah.
York, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know why I had that cynical attitude. I just kind of thought like, oh, I know it's going to be there. You know, I know what it's going to
Yeah.
be about.
Yeah.
And, you know, it had definitely a lot of art that you would expect at
Hmm.
a survey kind of show like that. I feel like be really interesting to do a show like that where someone's first review is like, wow, I didn't expect all this to be at that show. Um, so it's not one of those, but it's good. Like
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time there and I really loved Kenneth Tam had a video called I'm Staying Hopeful and Strong. And
Oh.
it was of two taxi drivers who had owned taxi medallions. They were of South Asian
Oh,
descent
yes.
and they
I
had
remember.
lost all their money because the taxi medallion racket like bottomed out. And there are videos of these older men doing like weird interpretive modern dances with like folding chairs and boxes. It is mesmerizing. Like
Whoa.
I could not take my eyes off of this video. I think I posted it to Instagram because it was like so
Oh,
like I was like, this
cool.
is so mesmerizing. I also felt that way about Mark Kokopelli's piece, which were these like TV consoles
Hmm.
with like glass screens with South Park character faces on them, talking about
Hmm.
like different eras of economic booms and bust. And it was so, you couldn't really hear what they were saying, but the use of the TV as like a diorama with a moving screen that was also transparent was also quite mesmerizing and made me feel like I really wanted to spend more time with that, which I thought that was cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I love the Ceballos brothers, who were a group of brothers who were artists. Like one of them was like a fine artist, like a painter, but their side gig, which became their full-time gig, was making handmade advertisements for Latin American businesses in New York.
Hmm.
And the show has like a whole display of like an archive of their work, but also a lot of their original work. These beautiful, very iconic looking hand painted signs, which are very graphic, very artful. So it was really interesting to see like what they were up to, like what they were showing. But my favorite stuff in Greater New York was Piero Penizzotto, which sounds like a very Italian name, but he's Peruvian New York,
Mm.
New York by way of Peru, I think. Um, and he makes these life-size, but almost like oversized sculptures of people that are
Mm.
kind of like Botero meets like Rigoberto Ahern works,
Mm. Mm.
and they're of people he knows or sees. And there's a group called the Council of Tias, which is like 4 or 5 Latina women sitting on like lawn chairs together, like talking. And they're like these big paper mache sculptures, which are kind of wonky and bulbous. That's why they're kind of like Botero, but they
Mm.
have such great expressions and they're so
Mm.
live. They're like snapshots.
Oh.
And that work, I was like, this is, if I was gonna like buy anything from the greater New York, like that is what
Hmm.
I would buy. Because I
Oh,
feel
that's
like
so cool.
that's the work that I would want to live with. It's the work that I think was the most of a time. It was like really like, and I actually love Greater New York because I love the idea that these are all artists sort of living and working in New York, and I feel like in a art world that is so international,
Mm.
and so often so based in international stuff, it's nice to have like a local show. It's kind of a cool
Yeah.
idea that like this is. I just wish there were more artists. Like I wish instead of
Hmm.
50 artists, there could have been like 150 artists. Like really be
Mm.
like, this is a big blowout. Like when
Mm.
Jamie and did that show at O'Flaherty's that was like, bring
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
throw it up like
Yeah.
like it'd be kind of fun to if it was sort of more raucous like that.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a little buttoned up kind of feeling, but
Yeah.
um but it made me feel good because I felt like you know it just felt like New York was on that upswing, you know, like Mom Donnie and the Knicks and Greater New York and Piero Penizzotto's
Cool.
work was just like felt like, wow, New York is awesome. New York is where stuff is happening. Like New York is cool. New York is on, you know, still got it. And
Yeah.
that felt good. Like that, I felt like it's something worth celebrating.
Yeah.
And I I wish they could do it more. I wish Greater New
Yeah.
York was
Yeah.
like more than every like
I
5 years.
know every 5 years.
They didn't
Yeah.
take up the whole space. Like I feel like past Greater New York's took up like all of PS1, like the whole kit and caboodle. And I
Yeah, for
felt like
sure.
there was so much PS1 space that was not
That
being
wasn't.
used.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
tons. I was like,
Yeah.
why give someone a
Yeah.
wall like I want to do a installation in the bathroom at PS1. Like why give me the bathroom? You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
activate the whole space, put more stuff in the hallways, put more stuff in the stairwell, like put there's like those outdoor concrete cubicle spaces as you walk in, like they're all empty. Like put something in
Yeah.
there. Like, you
Yeah.
know, it just felt like they didn't activate the space really at all.
Oh,
It
that's
felt like a missed
interesting.
opportunity to me.
Yeah, for sure. Did you?
Anyway, so that
Yeah, it
was.
sounds great. I really want to see it. I have to see it.
I don't know how long it's up for, but it's
Yeah,
probably up to like
through the
basically the
end of
rest.
July at least, I think. I looked at, or maybe even August, but
So
um,
Greater New York
yeah,
PS1
I want to
check.
see. Did you see
Oh,
I forget his name, but the artist who etches directly on film. They're kind of
Hugh Hardy Hill.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I really like those. I want to see them.
that work
They're
is great. It's a negative.
yeah.
It's so
The
beguiling.
negative, yeah.
It's a negative draw. It's like a drawing on a negative that then
Hmm.
becomes like a photograph, and the
Yeah.
blacks are like pitch black. You know, but
Yeah.
he only had one work in
No,
in
what?
this big survey show, at least that I saw.
Oh.
And
Oh,
I
okay.
maybe there's more. I don't know, but I was
Yeah.
surprised that I only saw
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that work I really liked. And Julia
Cool.
Wachtel's work, I was really glad to
Oh,
see
nice.
that
Yeah, yeah,
she was
yeah.
included and her work was cool. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So what
Yeah.
else is on the docket? Anything else happening?
No, I'm frustrated in the studio with my
Oh,
I have to
Jesus.
admit, I have to admit I allowed an AI to tell me something that wasn't true.
What
So,
do you mean? What does
well, it's
that
just
mean?
been giving me all these formulas for cold wax with oil and and a little bit of gal kid and all this stuff and the percentages, and then I was like, wait, these numbers don't make sense, and it was like, oh, sorry. And anyway, I'll
Ask
have
a
to ask.
real artist.
I know, I'll have to ask you some questions about like cold wax and stuff like that.
You know who I always text Matt Serletti. Like to me,
Yeah.
Matt Serletti is my like phone, like my like who wants to be a millionaire one phone call.
Right.
Like if I have any
That's a pretty
like
good one. Yeah.
painting or like art
Yeah.
material question,
Yeah.
he always has like a really good answer
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
he's sort
that's
of the
cool.
one to go to when I'm like,
Yeah.
because oh, the other day I did a fun thing. I was working with colored pencils and I was like, didn't like my colored pencils. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Blick and I'm gonna spend the afternoon just experimenting with every colored pencil they have and
Uh-huh.
see what the saturation is like. But I
Yeah.
did write to Matt Serletti. I was like, Matt, what colored pencil do you use? Because he makes the most beautiful colored
Mm.
pencil drawings. If you've not
Mm.
seen his colored pencil drawings, you must go look at them. They're so good. So I was like, well, what do you use? So he told me what he used. And I did the whole gamut of all the colored pencils. I decided on Prismacolor, which turns out that's what he uses.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I decided on even before he got back to me on what he uses.
Yeah.
And then I said what kind of colored pencils he uses, but it's not like, you know, that's like actually like the most basic colored pencil.
Yeah, it
But
is.
it's really good. Like the
Yeah.
like just the saturation level and the malleability of it is just really good. And you can layer it in a nice way. But it was so fun to be like, this afternoon I'm just going to test out colored pencils. And at Blick they have a long white pad
Oh,
and I
yeah.
ripped off a whole new page and I literally went for like 2 hours and tried every
What?
single colored pencil
Oh
and
my God.
blended them
Yeah.
just to see because I wanted to be like, I'm to drop like $100 here, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna make sure that like I'm gonna get the
Right. You
colored
get
pencil so it
exactly
can
what
give
you
me what I
want.
want to do.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that felt like
totally.
real art research,
Like
and I
research. That's kind of
yeah,
what I'm
love
doing.
it.
I'm stuck in a zone of like, I have all these little 6-inch panels and I'm testing all my different methods on them and seeing what happens to them. So we'll
That's
see what
fun.
happens. Yeah, it's kind of,
You got to fail to learn what works. You know,
yeah,
you can't
totally,
do it
totally.
once and have it work
Yeah.
out.
No, and so I'm in this like, well, I just one of the artists from Creative Capital that I met had recommended The Artist Way. Have you ever heard of this?
Oh, are you kidding me? Of course.
Yeah. Have you
Wait,
ever
did you
done the art?
discover the artist's way,
I've
Gina?
heard of it. I've heard people talk about it, but I've never like owned it or and it was
What?
$10 on Amazon. But I didn't realize there was going to be so much like God stuff. Like
Okay.
there's a lot
I
of God.
I want to maybe have a separate episode where we
Okay.
spend like more time on this
Okay.
because I have a lot of opinions on the artist's way.
Yeah.
I've read it
Yeah.
many years ago. I have a lot of
Yeah.
experience with it. I've
Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts on it. I just feel like we're an hour in and I don't
Right.
want
And
to
it's too, no, I haven't honestly, I have like not creased any of the pages because I'm like, I might return this because I'm a little bit like,
really.
well, I
Wow.
just felt like some of the things it was saying, I was like, yeah, I do that. Like, it's literally my life, you know? So I was like, I don't know. I
You're
don't know.
living
And
the
then,
artist's way.
well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you should, I hope so. Like, but some of the things like go spend $5 at the, anyway, so I have to figure out how to do it in a way that's like makes sense for me. And I also
Okay.
think I have to go out and like black out all the like God stuff because I think that's distracting for me. I'm like, I don't
So
know.
it's the
It's
God stuff that I love about it because I do
really,
believe in higher power. So I love
yeah.
the God stuff. Let's just go into it. We'll just talk about
No,
it.
no, no, it's
Anyway,
fine. We'll talk about it. I
no,
have to look at
no,
it more. I have to look at it more.
let
So,
me just say though that I
okay.
think it can be a very strong and powerful catalyst if you feel
Like,
creatively stuck or if
yeah,
you feel like you're searching, and that's why the
yeah,
God part is sort of
yeah,
good because
yeah.
it has a little bit of like the AA kind of thing of like surrender something to a higher power, like
Right,
be
right, right.
open to, you know, a higher power, be open to the energy of the universe.
Yeah,
But it also it, when it came out, I think there was less self-help woo-woo stuff for artists than
uh-huh.
there is now, and less
Yeah,
coaching. You know, we had a whole
yeah.
thing about
Oh
coaching and all
God,
that. And
coaching.
so I feel like now a lot of the artist's way is like seems really basic and seems really
Yeah,
obvious in a way that
yeah.
maybe 20 plus years ago it was more
Right. It didn't. Oh,
revelatory.
that's interesting. Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense. Yeah,
but I do think that to me, the most important part of it is it gets you in touch with living your life in a way that, again, is like maybe a little more detached from the, oh, I've got to produce and I've got to get
mm-hmm.
to these levels in my career, and
Mm-hmm.
brings back more of the magic and the
Mm-hmm.
mystery and the sort of self-care of being an artist.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's something like I did, like going to Blick and spending, an hour or
Yes,
two
that's what it
just
reminded me.
having fun and
Yeah,
being playful
yeah,
is something I often forget to do because I'm
yeah.
too wrapped up and
Right,
concerned with production or making
right,
work or just, whatever.
right, right,
And
right.
so and so I feel like the artist's way is part of it is like remembering to be, come at being an artist with a little bit of that childlike wonder. And
Mm-hmm.
I know there's another thing in the artist way. It's like go on like an artist date, like
Yeah,
and I do that
yeah,
all the time. Like I'll just be
yeah,
like, oh, today I'm gonna go to the Met all day and just
yeah.
spend, and have lunch at the cafe and just treat
Mm-hmm.
myself that way.
Yeah,
Because you never know what kind of fun, weird, wacky thing may or may
yeah.
not come from
Right.
that. But,
Yeah. Who may
it
be
seems like
sitting at the
having,
cafe?
yeah, exactly. You
At the
might meet
Met. No, sorry,
your
back to
mom.
our earlier. No, but that's a really good, I guess I feel like I had a breakthrough recently. And so I'm just like, do I need this right now? That's, I guess, the question. But it is weird how I'm like weirdly afraid of it. I'm like kind of scared to go there. So that
To
probably
me, the
means I
most
should.
important. The most important thing I think in the artist way is the morning pages,
Yeah.
which I do every day religiously. I've done it
Oh yeah.
for a decade or more.
Wow.
And I know many artists
Oh
who
my
also
God.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
many artists who do it every
Yeah.
day.
Who do it every
But
day.
the difference is what I do that most people don't do is I tear mine out and I
Uh-huh.
throw them away at the end of.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't keep my writing, but every morning I write at least 1 to 2 full
Mm-hmm.
page stream
Mm-hmm.
of consciousness, emotional vomit,
Mm.
like whatever
Mm.
I'm thinking about, whatever I'm scared of, whatever I'm excited about, whatever I'm thankful for, whatever I hate, whatever I love, whatever I'm going through. I
Yeah.
write it down and then I rip it out and I crumble it up and I throw it out and I'm like, done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is my emotional regulator. Like that's how I kind
Yeah.
of like start my, like I do that with
Yeah. It's
coffee.
almost
Like that's how
like
I
meditation or something or
have to do it.
practice.
It's changed
Yeah.
my life and it's given
Yeah.
me
Oh,
so
that's so
many
cool. Yeah.
revelations and so many
Yeah.
ideas and so it
Yeah.
keeps me grateful. It keeps me, aligned. So I actually didn't. I came at Morning Pages not through her. I came at it through Nicole Sachs, who's a
Mm.
psychologist who has what is her? She has a philosophy about writing in that way. I think she probably got it from uh, Julia Cameron in the Morning Pages, but mine is more like Nicole Sachs is more about ripping it out and throwing it away because
Okay.
it's like
Yeah.
with you don't want
Right.
to you want to get it out on the page
Right.
and then get
It's
rid of
almost
it.
like making the subconscious conscious, and
Yes.
then and once it's conscious, then you can, yeah.
Yeah, and then letting it go and moving on with
Yeah.
your day.
Yeah.
I don't want to have that stuff hanging around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. That's a problem too. Not everybody needs to, for posterity, to know what
I
they're
also
thinking.
recommend anyone who suffers from any kind of beguiling chronic pain to go listen to Nicole Sachs and her podcast
Yeah.
because she is, I think, one of the smartest people out there who talks about chronic pain, chronic illness, and how to approach it in a sort of like newer and different way, how to sort of
Hmm.
change your mindset around it. And she's
Oh, that's
helped me
interesting.
on
Yeah.
so many different levels of, and that's a totally different topic and a totally different
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
that's where I started doing, she calls it like journal speak, right? She calls it
Mm.
journal speak.
Journal speak. Oh,
That's like
cool.
her like term. But so
Yeah.
that's how I arrived to it. But the artist way is
Yeah.
where I think maybe she sort of got it first.
Yeah.
Have you done it
Oh,
yet?
that's
Have you done the
cool.
morning pages?
No, I haven't done it. I just skimmed like different pages and I saw God a couple places and I was like, uh-oh, like I don't know
Gina,
if it's,
don't be afraid of God. Do not be afraid of God. God is the last thing you should be afraid of.
I
Either with a
just have
lower
such a narrow, I have such a narrow, I can only think of God with like a human in between. Went to like Catholic
that's
school for a
terrible.
while. I can only think of it, but I do think of like I am, what am I? I feel like I have psychic, I have intuition, and
Then you
I
should
have
know
those
that
things.
God is everything. God is everywhere. God is man. God is woman. God is love. God is life. God is the vibration of the universe. God is the last thing you should be reluctant of or afraid of. God, it's like that's
Yeah.
the life energy of the universe. I love
Yeah,
it.
I don't know. I believe I'm a big science person, so I don't know.
But
I have to
science is
like,
God. They're not mutually exclusive. They're the same thing.
okay. Yeah.
They are.
Did anyone?
That is a hill I will die on.
No, it's cool. I think it's really cool. I have a lot of issues around it. So it's like not a
Well, maybe
neutral
do the
thing.
morning
And
pages and work it out.
I know because it feels like very top down to me. It feels very like I don't want someone like telling me what to do. And I don't like that. So anyway,
Yeah, well, that you can reject. That's rejecting like religion. But I like
yeah.
your attitude though when you're like, oh, the artist way makes me nervous and I don't like it. So maybe
Yeah.
actually I should lean into
Maybe
it.
I should see. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we've come up with that before. Like when you hate something in art, it's
Yeah,
probably because you
you
secretly
have to.
love it or you
Yeah,
secretly like have like an issue with it.
right,
So
exactly. It's a fear. Why not face your fear? Yeah.
feel the
So,
fear and do it
well,
anyway.
and
Another
don't
great
you?
book.
Yes. Oh, interesting. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Nice.
Yeah, by
No, I
Susan
was gonna.
Jeffers. That book is so good.
Don't you feel sometimes this is a whole other topic? We're already at an hour 15, but like this idea of being an artist and having a sensibility, that sometimes it's this balancing act between being open to things and then being afraid because you've worked so hard to like hone a certain sensibility and to figure out what you, so this like tension between like wanting to be open and sensitive and then at the same time like wanting to shut down around your thing
You
that
have to find a balance.
you've worked so hard to define. So it's like
To find a
that's like,
balance
and I,
because you
God
can't
knows,
be
I've barely
you,
defined it. I'm like
you
chaos
can't
in
be a
the
rigid
studio.
stick. The rigid stick
No,
breaks. The dry stick
no,
breaks, right? Like the
I
moist stick
know.
bends.
I know, but if you look at my work, it's like 10, 100 different things. Like it's not consistent. Like my work is always all over the place.
Good, which is why I love it.
Right, right. But like it's a bane of my existence. So I'm always like
Yeah.
worried about bringing another thing into it, you know? So anyway, I don't need to be more impressionable, basically, is my problem.
I like abundance. I'm like,
Okay.
I think the universe is abundant. I think that we should have an abundance mindset.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
beautiful. All right,
yeah.
let's end on
Okay,
beauty and
let's
abundance.
do it. Let's go away
Okay.
now.
All right.
It's been
Bye.
so fun. Bye. Talk to you
So fun.
soon.
Bye.
Okay, bye.